Now let's see one of the most common loops that we ever used or you'll ever be using while programming is a for loop. So let's just start with the basic for loop. Now which says you initialize something, say int I equal to 0, I less than 10, say some check, and then you put on some increment or decrement, and then you have a body of the loop and you say you do something. So this is a basic for loop that we start off with. You initialize a variable, then you put a check on whether the loop till when you want the loop to be running, and that condition is till I is less than 10. So till the last value of I equal to 9 the loop will be running, and this will be incrementing the value of I for every iteration of the for loop, and this is what will be sent to the output for every iteration of the loop. So it starts off with this, it checks the value of I, then it prints off something, then it increments the value and again checks whether this is still fine. So let's see what output this comes up with, and then we'll again see what exactly is the flow of the loop. So it says in loop 0 and it continues till 9 at I equal to 10 is no longer less than 10 and the loop breaks off. And then we come down to a point which is after the loop. So how it all works. So every for loop, it has three parts: an initialization part that we commonly call as initialization, a check, so and then some incrementation or decrementation. So these are all these are two parts that we've, based on experience, are saying that this is the initialization and this is the increment or the decrement part, but these can be used for a whole lot different purposes rather than just incrementing or decrementing. But the main important part is the second part. Now this part should always return a boolean value. So in case it is not a boolean value, if I say I less than 10 and say plus plus I, so now it no longer gives you a boolean result, so you find an error here. So this is what is important to keep a check on, that this part should always yield a boolean result. So as long as the result is boolean, the loop will never end. So in case I directly put down a true here, so this is an infinite loop. Since this is a constant value and will always be true, this loop is never going to end. So since this loop is an infinite loop, so this is a statement that you will be never executing. So systems gives you a warning that this is a not reachable code statement. So you need to either comment this or you need to do something so that the loop is not an infinite loop. So I'll again put down the check here. So this is what we call as the body of the loop, and it can hold any number of statements that you want to execute for every iteration of the loop. Now in case I use I plus plus and I use plus plus I, so does this affect the output that I have here in the loop? Let's see. No change. So this is because plus plus I and I plus plus, they both refer to I is equal to I plus 1. So there isn't any difference in how this could change the value that you print through the system.out.print. Now in case I put on a semicolon here, now in case you put on a semicolon here, this means that the loop is the shaded part. So this is no longer a part of the for loop. The for loop is within the brackets itself. So this is the for loop. Nothing more than this forms a part of the for loop. Now because I is a variable which is declared within the for loop, so it has a visibility which is only within the for loop. So you get an error here that this I is not defined. So it says that I cannot be resolved to a variable, and the reason for this is this semicolon, because it now limits the loop to only this. So what if I don't need a body of the loop? So what I can do is I'll just remove this body, shift this statement to be a part of the loop only. Just pick this up from here. So in case you just need a simple print, so why do have a body of the loop also? So we've done with the body and put this statement as a part of the loop only. So let's again see what output we get here. So again we have 0 to 9. But in case I do the same change here, that I add this instead of I plus plus, I say plus plus I. Does this make any change to the output now? Definitely. So now instead of it starting from 0, it now starts with 1. And ending instead of 9, it ends at 10. Now this is because now I is in an expression. So in case I have I is 0, then it checks is perfectly fine. It comes down to here, and here it will be first incremented and then the value will be printed. So I'll start in loop 1 and then it'll again check is perfectly fine, and then it will be printing 2. So in case you pass this value to the print method, this will no longer be a standalone variable. This is a variable within a expression. So this will affect the value that will now be printed as a part of the for loop. So as you can see, this is not a part where you could just increment or decrement. You could also use print statements within the for loop. In case I also have a print here. Oh, I already have. Let me use this only. So let me print the value of I here. But what I'll do is I'll not declare I within the loop, rather I'll do it before the loop. So can you just guess what will be the value of I that comes up here? So you just check through that I equal to 9, perfectly fine here. I is less than 9 is less than 10. I come here in loop plus plus I print in loop 10, and then 10 less than 10 not feasible, and then I come down here and I'll be printing loop ends and then 10. So in case the visibility of the variable is not an issue, the last value that the variable holds for which the loop doesn't run is what you will be getting in after the loop. So as you can see, loop ends and I is 10. So the first part is, if you have a simple loop, initialize a variable, put down a condition, then increment or decrement. But in case you just simply have a print, you can add that as a part of the for loop and you can move ahead. Now what if I remove this check and I don't put down any statement here? Now as you can see, first of all, since we don't have a check here, this corresponds to putting down a true here. So if you don't put anything here, it will correspond to as if there is a true here. So this corresponds to a infinite loop, and I'll have to just comment this in case I need to see what output comes. So in this case, since this is an infinite loop, it will continue till I'll have to forcibly close the output. So even if I don't write this true, things are same. Now how does this for loop, the flow works in a for loop? Now since we already declared the variable above, I can just say loop starts, make a check, and then print. Let's go back to the old system. So now this is a statement which will start off the for loop and then it goes to check. So the first part, then the check. Now in case the check is perfectly fine, we go to the body of the loop. Now after the body of the loop, we go to the increment or the decrement part, then again the check, then again the body of the loop, again increment or decrement, again check, again the body of the loop. So this circle continues till this part continues to deliver true. So the moment this expression goes to false, the loop stops. So this is a statement which is executed only for the first time. So in case you put down a variable declaration or you put on a print, this will be only be executed only the first time. So as you can see, loop starts and then the rest of the loop. So as you can see, loop starts and then the rest of the loop. So as you can see, loop starts and then the rest of the loop. So as you can see, loop starts and then the rest of the loop. So as you can see, loop starts and then the rest of the loop. So as you can see, loop starts and then the rest of the loop. So as you can see, loop starts and then the rest of the loop. So as you can see, loop starts and then the rest of the loop. So as you can see, loop starts and then the rest of the loop. So as you can see, loop starts and then the rest of the loop. So as you can see, loop starts and then the rest of the loop. So as you can see, loop starts and then the rest of the loop. So as you can see, loop starts and then the rest of the loop. So as you can see, loop starts and then the rest of the loop. So as you can see, loop starts and then the rest of the loop. So as you can see, loop starts and then the rest of the loop. So as you can see, loop starts and then the rest of the loop. So as you can see, loop starts and then the rest of the loop. So as you can see, loop starts and then the rest of the loop. So as you can and nowhere you can see that this is executed again. So in case this is, I just put on a check, say I is say greater than 10. Now let's see what is the output in this case. Simply loop starts. Since in this case, as soon as it shifts from this to check, the check returns false, so nothing gets executed beyond loop starts. So we've seen what is the flow from first statement to the second, to the body, to increment, decrement, again check, body, and the loop continues.